like 58. Hey, Andre, let's take a look here. I would, I think these kind of look similar to. There's a lot of stocks showing this like kind of similar look where you're like dressed grinding down. I would say both of them are, the trends have reversed. I'd say both of them the trends have reversed, buddy. That's a good list, by the way. Good, good. Bryce, you around today? Mr. Johnson, what's up, baby? All right, good morning, everybody. What's up in the hood? The big hood. How you all doing? Huh? Who's ready to do the Lord's work today? The Lord's work on the devil's playground. 'Cause it's Friday. It's Friday. And we getting freaky. We getting freaky deaky. What's up, everybody? Ah. All right, all right, all right. Guys, it's a mess. Good morning, everybody. It's a little bit of a mess out today, all right? Hassam, every Friday there's always a batch of news around 8:30. And then you'll get like I think the Michigan Consumer Confidence Index at 10, but at 8:30 you always get a little something, something for the ladies. Yeah, you get today was employment report. So you had non-farm payrolls. So you had boom, 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 boom. So if you look here, you had boom, 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 boom. You had non-farm payrolls, the actual 256 expecting 160 unemployment rate 4.1 expecting. So the jobs numbers basically came in good. Now, Sam, remember in the United States stock market, good is bad, bad is good, usually for the market. And very bad is the best. Very bad usually means that the government will print money and they'll do all this kind of freebie stuff, and the market likes that. When the market is just kind of like when like jobs and stuff are just like cooking and booking, the market doesn't like that because then the interest rates are not going to go down. So if you look, we got ourselves on the old TLT, for example, right? We're getting a little nastiness. We're getting a little nastiness, right? So these job numbers came out. The rates are popping again. So even though the Federal Reserve is, cutting some rates and doing all this kind of fandazzlement, what we're not finding is that, right? We're not finding the longer term rates actually go down. Oh, you see, like mortgage rates and stuff are all kind of pushing higher. So the market doesn't like all this. So you get a little bit of a shakeout in the market. Now, look, markets do this all the time. So one thing to just be remember is that we went on an epic run since August. Like it really was. Think about it, this is a huge, right? We're the biggest market in the world. In August till right, we peaked out in mid-December. We went up 100 points on the QQQs, right? So what is that? 100 points on 400. So about 20-25%, give or take, off these lows. That's a pretty big, right? Pretty big kind of historic type of run. And you felt it, right? Like all these stocks were going up like crazy. So we've had a huge run. And now, we're getting a period of essentially, right, this kind of digestion. And so, we're getting this period of digestion. And this can take some, this here, it can take some time. Like we're basically now 3 weeks in, right? And so that's good. Like you want the market to kind of digest these gains and you want stocks to like reset their bases because they're just long in the tooth, right? They're long in the tooth. And if you look back, historically, after right really big runs in the market where you get like, these kind of right 20-30% gains, you have these periods where you're going to drop for a month and then chop around, and you'll have these periods where you will go sideways for months sometimes, right? And so like markets are not always trending. You get 2 to 3 hot runs in a market in a given year. And it is up to you to not only capitalize on it, but to really, right, just to really, really nail down those profits too, because then you have this other period, right? Like, right, you go from June to November where you're just going sideways, even maybe grinding down a little bit, but not even really enough to short, right? You're just like kind of channeling back and forth. And so this will happen for months, and you'll get these kind of periods where you're not doing anything. So, we get often spoiled by when the trend is hot and we just think it'll go forever, and the trend is still up. But on a short term basis, this is your 9 EMA. On a short term basis, right, the trend is reverse. And on an intermediate term basis, right, the trends are kind of flat and the long term trend is higher. So we just have a little bit of trend confusion versus when you go up, right? That's right, Mr. Lighter. That's it's the way it goes, right? So now, what do we do, right? So now, what do we do? Well, we're breaking under the 50-day moving average on the QQQs, and if you see on the SPY, right, we're essentially kind of in a little bit of a bear flag, right? We're in a little bit of a bear flag, or a little bit of a rounding kind of pattern, right? So there's some levels that we need to watch out for today, right? I think, and mark these out. 580 on the SPY is going to be important, and it doesn't matter the exact number, right? It's more of a zone of love, not even a zone of love, a zone of commitment, right? Then you got old QQQ. I think this 506 from a couple days ago, that'll be a spot too, right? That'll be the kind of inflection points to go. Now, the thing is, we're not even in some deep downtrend either. So it's not like there's like some big easy short that's there to be had either, right? There are some stocks that are showing, right, short setups, and we'll be able to day trade them. But if you're a swing trader, this is probably, right, a little bit of a leave alone. So just got to be mindful of this. Just got to be a little bit mindful of this. 506 and then 580 on the SPY. And then on the IWM, you're busting loose, but you got the 200-day moving average like right underneath. So I got the boom, 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 boom. And we've kind of retested this like 4 or 5 times. So I don't know if there's like an easy setup on the IWM, and it's already down 2%, right? Which is the whole ATR. You can see here the ATR is 1.9. You kind of open it down 1.8. So we'll leave that one, we'll leave that one in specific alone. Whoa. Da-da, da-da. What the fuck? All right. Hold on here. Let's roll back into this for a second. Let me switch layouts here. Zaman, what's up, baby? And yeah, when you start to see these rotations into like oil, for example, that's also very inflationary itself, right? So you're starting to see a big breakout that's setting up on oil. And so there's a little bit of rotation that's happening. We're going from these hot tech stocks and right, like your nuclear stocks and your airplane stocks into right the old black gold, right? The old black gold. So, when you start to see USO going and right, you start to see natural gas going and you start to see right XLE going, then you're just getting a little bit of a shift, right? Like basically the day the market topped out, these started going up, and so we're starting to get just a small shift in that action. small shift in that action, and so we got to kind of see what's up next, right? In the meantime, who's got a couple oil stocks they like? Yeah, Oxy's trending. You have like a little kind of flag on Fang. Let's just take a look. You can boom, 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 boom. Right? If you go here on your TC1000, you hit this three-prong button, you can bring up basically all the stocks in a particular sector, and then you can kind of run these like sorts, right? What's up the most the last 12 days, 5 days, so on and so forth, and you'll start to see some of these stocks, right? Like this EQT. There's always a bull market somewhere, right? There's like EQT's got a nice breakout going, right? You got nice little trenders on these. So this will probably be, this is a little bit more of a weekend homework kind of thing. And the reason is that these are typically more, swing type of names. They just don't have the daily ATR to really, you can trade them because they'll still, anything that moves 2, 3 points, you can trade, right? But in general, they're not going to be like big, sexy names. Now let's go back. Hold on. What the heck just happened? There we go. Hey, Lighter, what are you watching? So let's go in and see, if we got any kind of news plays or anything like that. And guys, the market's going to speed up a lot next week. You'll have Citigroup on the 15th. You'll have 15th, and then Alcoa comes in a little bit after that, the 22nd. So you got yourself, we're going to get a nice speed up next week anyways, right? We'll get a nice speed up next week. So today's Friday, let's see if we got any kind of news plays or anything that's just like a little sexy, and see if we can kind of dig up some dirt today. DTIL, yeah, these small caps. No small caps on Fridays. Hey, Sean, you know the drill. No small caps on Fridays. Unless you're all day. Yo, you could probably play something like this. Like, I'm not opposed to it. It's just a reverse split stock. I'm not opposed to it, but no small caps. No small caps on Fridays for, the specific reason of you don't want to be losing. Look at this. So this thing was at $8, right? And it drops to $6 in a hot second. You don't want to be taking those kind of losses on. You don't want to take those kind of losses on Friday. You know the drill when this happens. Like you lose on a Friday, and your wife asks you like, why did you lose all our money on a Friday? And you're like, yeah, I went balls deep on DTIL. That's not going to really ring pretty well, right? Because she's going to be like, little Johnny's got, karate practice. And, the karate coach says that the check bounced. And you're like, fuck DTIL, right? And now, guess what? The next week, when you go back into karate practice, your wife's out there jerking the fucking karate teacher for free lessons because your check bounced and the karate teacher's getting all creepy McGeeney's like, hey, what's up? Take off my gi. And you're like, what gi? And he's like, this gi. And next thing you know, you walk in, little Johnny's in the corner doing God knows what. And then boom, your wife's out there giving handies to people for free karate lessons, all because you did not have the discipline to make sure that those checks went through because you were balls deep on this DTIL. That's probably somewhere you don't even want to go, right? You don't need to be doing that. You don't need to think about what Johnny's going through. Think about your wife. She just got her nails done, right? Like this ain't right. You got responsibility. This ain't right. Boom, 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 boom. Dude, this I'm into. This I'm into. Right? So CEG, you got some to acquire Calpine, $16 billion, blah, blah, blah. This may pull it off. This may get this sector kind of popping a little bit. I'd be open with this. You got to break out on this one. Now, you know what's interesting is usually when you have these buyouts, the acquire gets smoked out. But for some reason, this thing is popping. I would add in some of these nukes. I'd add in some of these nukes here. You know, you got CG here. Let's see if the rest of the sector. What's the other one? Vert? No, not Vert. What was the other? What's got the other? VST? Yo, guys, and watch those small caps that All Day's posted because, dude, every single one he's been ripping the last couple days has been popping like 100%, 200% after the open. I get this one too. So add in VST, and then let's see. You got a breakout right here on VST, and then you got CEG right here. You got two levels that you can roll around. That's where you really want to go with this thing. Now look at this, Boots and Coats. What's up with this? Boots and Coats got fiscal wood, adjusted net earnings, fall, sales rise, good enough for me. Bam. You got a level right here that you frankly could squeeze off of. Now it's a little bit of a thicker stock sometimes. It's not necessarily like some crazy big mover, but you do have like this thing was beaten down. It used to be 60, $70. You know, you may have some upside on this one. I'd add this one, not my particular exact flavor because it trades a little bit thick, but I'm into it. Let's add that. Yo, Dats chat. That was hot. Who was trading this a couple days ago? See, that was on a Wednesday, so you can do that. Oh, yeah, baby. No, whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, yeah. I'm into not trading Dats, but just taking a look. Hey, this Boyle, this is the 3x ETF or 2x ETF for natural gas. Keep an eye on some of those natty gas plays. And if anybody's got a couple tickers they want to look up, let's dig through. Hey, so you got DAL too. These airlines are popping through. Hey there. Dude, why not? I mean, airlines not the sexiest thing, right? Definitely not the sexiest thing, but why not? Like, you know, you got UAL also with a huge setup. Damn. You know what? That was probably a swing trade off the 50, huh? Damn. I bet these calls will be up fucking 500% today. 600%. I mean, they'll be flying. All right. Well, this DAL, we got to break out. The rest of the sector looks pretty good. I don't know how airlines got so hot, but they're hot right now. Let's roll with it. Let's roll with it. Not the sexiest one, but let's add a couple of these bad boys. Hey man, we ain't always got everything. Hey, this Fubo is still in play. I wouldn't consider this necessarily small cap. It's a billion-dollar company. It's just cheaper, right? That I'm okay with. It's a billion-dollar company. It's a little bit thicker, right? Like you can do that. You can do that without worrying about little Johnny's innocence. All right. You can worry about that without worrying about little Johnny's innocence. You got a spot here. I'd keep an eye. Like, dude, this thing rips over, say, 625. You may get a speed up on this. I'm into it. Boom, boom, oil. All right, let's see on the downside if we got anything here. And then we'll kind of go into some of the stacks that I'm watching. Dude, I made my watch list video and YouTube video 2 days ago. I didn't realize the market would be closed yesterday till after the fact, little bastards. Nobody even reminded me. Whoa. Hey, this was too thin. XLDB. Look at this. Zim. Yeah, all junk. See, this is also rollover. Palantir is also breaking down. See, like all these little hot setups are starting to break down here, right? Like ACHR. And you know what? They've come a long way. So let them break down. This thing was $3. It went to $12. Let it break down. Like that's the cycle of markets, right? Like you want to see like some of these bases probably reset. Like let this thing break down. Like they all probably need a little bit of a breather. They're tired. So this thing's up 500%. Like let it break down. I think it's maybe a little bit late to short. You don't want to short into the hole on these. If they pop up here, like say this thing squeezes, a few bucks or something, then you start to see a rollover. All right, but you don't want to short it into the hole. All right, now let's get into let's just look at a couple of these big boys here real quick. So we're getting a little bit of just range life on some of these, so we'll have to kind of keep an eye on it. Like you can see this Amazon, it's still holding up, right? But the big hairy Indian butt is that, it's really just stuck in range and on support. If it loses this, it's got room to fall. If the market holds, then, you're at a bounce spot basically. So it's kind of a penis in between us. If you look here, Microsoft, I mean, this is a nothing burger, right? Like, is it a short? Is it a long? Am I just drawing things? Like, probably more. I'm just drawing things there, right? That's not necessarily anything. So I leave that alone, right? Like Netflix. Now, look, if the market bounces, this thing is sitting right here on the 50-day moving average. That we can get behind, right? Like that ain't so bad right there. Like that's something we can do, right? That's something, if the market bounces, we got an easy location. You know what? It's been pretty orderly. It's just grinding down. That I'm into. Now, Apple also, it needs a little bit of time and probably, if it retests into 239, it's almost there. So, it's like just kind of rounding around here. So, this is another very market specific play, though. It's not going to go unless the market goes, right? And if you look at a lot of these stocks, like on the weekly charts, right? Like you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up weeks in a row, right? So, you're just going to have a little bit of a pull on these things. You can see the old Googlers is it just stuck in range. And so this market went from like in about 3 weeks to right, the hottest of hot to, a little bit more just range life. Meta is also right, just stuck in range here. And so these are all market specific plays. If the market goes, then they go. If the market doesn't go, then they don't go. Like Tesla itself is holding up pretty well here. But once again, like, is that just a line I drew to just make it seem like I know what I'm doing? Or is that like something significant? I don't think it's actually anything significant, right? Like, you're just drawing lines to draw lines. What the reality is the 9 EMA is curling down, the 20 is flat, and the 50 is up. And so, like, you have a little bit of trend confusion where the long term trend is good, but your short term trend is right, really stuck inside a range. And so, till it starts to kind of break back out and the 9 EMA starts to curl back up, then you don't really have anything. So you just gotta, it's like, this is just a market specific thing. If the market bounces, then this bounces. If the market doesn't bounce, then it ain't gonna do nothing. Right. And same thing with kind of AVGL, right? It's just flat lined out. Now, AVGL still looks on a long term basis really good, but I mean, it is kind of concerning that it's been taking a damn, it's been a damn month and it hasn't really even attempted to do anything, and it actually there's a little precedent of this. I was looking back on, AVGO because I keep waiting for this thing to get so hot. But if you look here in the last earnings, right? In the last earnings, this was the last pop on AVGO. You had this like epic 3 days, and then it was just like, right? And it didn't do shit. So, like, you had this huge gap on the earnings. I remember I was waiting for the same thing I'm waiting for right now. Like, thinking, like, come on, man, break out. And it didn't want to, right? It just farted around and then went, sideways. And so, AVGO in general has this, very much ability where you have this big base and then it pops through and then it just kerplunks it. And we've seen this like in the past here where like you just have like these big runs and then they kind of I don't know if the sound effects are proper, but it's just got a history of just sitting on its ass. So we'll see what's up on this, but I think this is also just a market specific play. If it breaks down, you might even be able to short it, right? You can see here Nvidia is also right, just coming back inside range. So this will be a market specific play. Like you are back to support, but you're not really trending, right? You're back to support, but you're not really trending. So just kind of keep an eye on this. And I think this one, this one's got a chance to, break down, but also on day 3 of the move, right? So you got to be careful, like not to just slam it through. You're kind of at the lower Bollinger Band a little bit, and it's day 3 of the move. So like this one you can short, but you want this thing to kind of pop through, right? Like you need it to pop back into kind of like, a little bit of a range before you start to get all juicy on it. Na-da-da-da-da. All right, junk. Yeah, just need a little bit of work here. Let it pop up in the morning. If it gets back into this, then you can kind of relieve the tension. All right, so let's kind of rejigger this. So, a couple things. You're not going to necessarily have some big, hot, sexy watch list today. Why? Because the market, when it's in a little bit of a range, oftentimes like what looks good becomes bad, and vice versa. So let's just kind of take just a quick gander, see what we do if we get what we want, right? I think this Palantir is on support if the market bounces. If the market bounces, right? If the market bounces, you got Twilio here that's sitting up still at a breakout spot. SMTC, this thing had a nice move on Wednesday. It's at a breakout spot. Netflix on the 50-day moving average. And look, if we need some shorts, I think we just take down all these kind of mid-cappy type of names. That seems to be the play right now. Like if we are gonna take something down, let's take down these ones that are like, maybe not Aqua because it's a nuclear and you have that news, but like something like an AI, something like an Affirm, right? You have your UPST, like you have these kind of names that are trending down. We can take these bad boys down. Everything else, there's not an easy short out there for you. There's not an easy short out there for you. Like to me, like this is just stuck in range, right? There's not the easiest of short. Like maybe if you break down here on coin, you can take that down. So we got a handful of these news plays. You got Fubo, WBA, DAL, CEG, and some of the nukes, right? If we need the longs and you just want a PR play, then you want to break these down into buckets. Then from there, if you're going to long, you want the clean ones, the ones that are sitting on big support. You don't want to do anything that's in the mid range where you can't tell if it's a long or a short, where you're like drawing all these damn trend lines, trying to figure out like, is this something? Is it not? You got to one eye it, right? Trying to figure out what's going on. Just look at something and be like, okay, it's a linear a linear thing, right? Like I'm sitting on this big monster cock support, and so I can, and I'm oversold, and so therefore I can long if I see the signal in the market. Now that's the problem, right? When the market's hot, you don't need signals in the market. You just close your eyes and buy. Right now, because the market's not at highs, you have to look at the market, look at the sector, look at the stock. So there's just more involved. That's why a lot of traders, when the market chops up, they just sit out, right? Because they're like, fuck it. Like, why stare at the market when I got easier times ahead? This Pan W is another one, right? Like you're down like 10, 11 days in a row, right into the 200-day moving average. That's a good spot, right? Like that's a good spot if you need a long. And so we got these buckets of stocks that are on, support. If you need some shorts, Zaman, I think you're right. You want to go with these kind of mid cappy kind of names because they're all showing a very similar right look. Hims has got a downgrade today. That's a buenos, right? There's a buenos and a noches. That's hot, right? She got Hims down. You can short the quantum stocks if they pop. I think they're probably due for some inside days. They'll still be moving around, but you never know. These things can get dead cat bounces, and the run is over on them. But also that easy short is probably done till they pop up a little bit or bear flag out. So I think probably a little bit of a leave alone. So on the short side, let's put in AI. Let's put in boner pills, right? We could even probably short some NVIDIA if it breaks down, into this. But I think this is probably a little bit more mid-range. So just look at the clean ones, right? Like Oracle. I think this one looks like a short, right? You got the bear flag and then an inside day on Wednesday. And now you're breaking through the range. Like that's hotter than a goose's caboose right there on the short side. So let me repeat this back so everybody understands. You have three buckets of trading. You have your news plays, Fubo, WVA, Dow, CEG, UAL. These are just specific day trades. You're going to do ORBs. You're going to do quick pullback buys, right? VWAP bounces, things of that nature. Your second bucket is going to be stocks that are sitting on big support in case the market goes, right? So you got your PLTR, your Netflix, right? Maybe Apple, Pan W. But the big hairy but and if is if the market goes, which we don't know, right? The market's just stuck inside a range for now. The SPY is stuck inside a range. But this 580 will be important. So we'll see how it reacts, right? If you get there or whatever. And then your third bucket is going to be, right, some selective shorts and some of these breakdown names. These are kind of failed breakouts, failed momentum, where you got AI, you got boner pills, you got things that are just at this like sweet spot of love, right? That you can play. And then, of course, you'll have a handful of relative strength names if you need to break something out because the market starts to rip tits. You've got like an SMTC or a Twilio. But remember that the breakouts fail a lot when the market is stuck in range. When the market gets stuck in that range, you break out, but fail a lot of the time. So let's go in and shred and do the Lord's work and get this thing going. All right?